We're going to start with the Upstate New York Rewards Innovation Panel, and I'd like to welcome to the stage Mario Fallone and the representatives of Upstate New York $1 Million Business Competitions and Startup Accelerators. Gentlemen, please come up. Mario is a partner with Harter, Secrest, and Emery, one of Upstate New York's leading law firms, with a strong focus on high-growth companies and private equity venture capital funds. Mario will be your moderator for this panel this morning and introduce you to our panelists as soon as they get settled in here.
So good morning, everybody. I cannot be more excited about this. What a wonderful setting. Upstate New York this time of year is fabulous. I can't believe how beautiful the setting is. The weather's awesome. Syracuse couldn't look prettier. And what a great hotel we're at. Fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great.
Woo! So that's only the tip of the iceberg. I'd like to thank Nasser and Catherine and everybody else at UVC for putting together a fantastic event. And I feel exceptionally fortunate to be on the stage with these four gentlemen. We are going to be speaking today about funding innovation, and I can't think of four more interesting folks really adding value to Upstate and highlighting what people are doing right. So I look forward to hearing from them, and again, thanks everybody for coming. So we have a great panel here today, and I'm going to give a brief introduction for each of them here, and we're not going to do a ton in the beginning on background because we're going to hear it from them, but I think you're really going to enjoy hearing about what they're all up to. We have Brian Bauer, 76 West, the clean energy startup in the southern tier. We have Rick Clonan from Center State, CEO and Genius New York, and their program related to bringing funds to the region for those companies in the unmanned space. We've got John Gavigan from 43 North, the granddaddy of them all, the annual business plan contest that's been going on a number of years. And then Jim Senall from HTR and the new Luminate Accelerator in Rochester focused on photonics. So with that, John, I'm going to start with you. You've been doing this a while with 43 North, and I think have an interesting perspective. I'd love you to tell everybody what you're doing. I know most people have heard it, but what I'm fascinated by is you guys are industry agnostic. A number of different companies can participate. I'd like to hear what you're doing and in a brief kind of overview, how it's evolved since you started 4 years ago.
Well, first of all, Mario, it's cool to be up here with you as well. We've gotten to know each
I feel
other.
like I'm looking at my clone.
I know.
Everybody jokes with us.
Again, my doppelganger
Yeah.
on stage. So, yeah, things have changed a lot in the last 4 years. Obviously, we run a $5 million startup competition, and just quick plug, by the way, we crescendo on October 5th. At Shays Theater in downtown Buffalo, so I'd encourage all of you to come.
It is a spectacle.
It's a spectacle, 3,000 people and the tens of thousands of companies that we filter through annually. The top 8 awards will be announced on October 5th, and it's a great event and a huge celebration of upstate innovation and entrepreneurship. So really exciting stuff. But things have changed a lot. I see one of my board members are in the audience. Where's Christina? Things have changed a lot since we first began. Christina, in fact, was one of the ones that hired me, but it's changed a lot because initially we had to brand the competition, right? We had to brand the fact that Buffalo, New York had a startup community. Early on, we had, when we did studies on whether or not Buffalo even had an entrepreneur, community or culture, we were ranking in the bottom quartile against just peer cities. So we needed to go out and build a culture of entrepreneurism in Buffalo, New York, and one of the key strategies was the $5 million startup competition, 43 North. Since then, it's evolved into a lot of other programming, attracting 4,000 or 5,000 high school students annually. We've got an inclusive series for MWBE entrepreneurs in our community called Think Big and The Pitch, and we also partner with strategic partners really trying to find organizations and startups that would benefit the local economy and be good natural fits in our economy. So we spend a lot of time in programming, not just doing the $5 million startup competition, and as a result, we're seeing that the culture is really shifting in our community.
That's exciting. And that's a great segue. So Jim, I know that Luminate is focused on a specific industry vertical, and I know much of that is tied to some of the background technology that resonates from Rochester. Can you give us a little overview? I know that you're the newest of those, so would love to hear more and hear about that focus.
Sure, thanks, Mara. As you said, Luminate is kind of the newest kid on the block from a large-scale competition sort of a thing in New York State. But our focus is optics, imaging, and photonics-enabled startup companies anywhere in the world that are coming in and applying for the program. And our program, all slightly different flavors of programs here. Ours is an accelerator program. So we're picking, excuse me, I was choking on coffee earlier. I haven't gotten out of my system yet. But our program selects 10 companies. They each get $100,000. They go through a 6-month accelerator program, and then we invest another $2 million into the best of those 10. So accelerator and competition kind of all in one. But focusing it on the historic strengths of the Rochester area was kind of the goal. Arguably the largest optics cluster in the world, and trying to extend that now into photonics and some of the higher end applications.
So Rick, give us a little bit of what you're doing at Genius, much like what's going on in Luminate, highlighting some of the special talents of the Syracuse region and the strength of the technology in the unmanned space. How does that fit into how you guys are approaching it and the overview of what you're doing?
Yeah, so I sort of stumbled upon this. Center State CEO, which is really the economic development agency here in Central New York, and Central New York was awarded the URI, $500 million, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Of that $500 million, $250 million went towards unmanned systems. So unmanned systems is a pretty broad space, definitely in the application for the URI, defined as a pretty broad space. But basically when I saw that, and then we were awarded the Genius program, we decided to sort of tag on to that $250 million coming into Central New York. That combined with some of the inherent pieces that we already have here, some of the companies like old GE, Lockheed Martin, SRC, Saab Census, many of the companies are right here in this room, some of the talent that came out of those companies over the decades, and then some of the assets that has emerged just recently, like Newware organization, the FAA test center, and now we have an unmanned systems corridor. So when you put all those things together, we can really create a stack. So we're really on the bottom of the stack doing the startup piece, Genius New York. We're going to award $3 million to 6 teams. We already did that last year for our first cohort, and we're about to do it again for our second cohort starting in January 1st. So that's the startups piece of it. Then Center State is giving, has more money going into a fund for a job fund to bring more mature companies in. Then we have the URI money, and then we have some other incentives. So what we're really trying to do is take this complete vertical and attack it from all angles in order to lift the whole ecosystem up in that space.
Exciting. So Brian, you have one of the industry verticals that I think gets some of the most attention, the clean energy space. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on 76 West and some of the interesting and unique aspects of being involved in a space that, while really cutting edge and interesting, often lacks venture dollars based on just the difficulty of funding those sorts of startups and how you're filling in that gap.
Yeah, thanks, Mario. So I'm Brian Bauer. I'm the program director for 76 West. In January, actually February of 2015, Mario Cuomo announced, Andrew Cuomo, geez, announced, I'm not from in-state, announced 76 West. The name is probably the first thing that requires a little explaining. 43 North had been such a big success that when I think Governor Cuomo thought about what needed to happen, particularly in the southern tier, he said, look, we want to have a clean energy focused business competition, $1 million top prize, $2.5 million in prizes for the southern tier. It's a little different in that it is focused on the region. And so to highlight some of the similarities and differences, the name, first of all, how many people think they know what 76 West signifies? Well, the clue is 43 North, which is the latitude, 76 West is the longitude that runs roughly through Vestal. And the only real benefit to that name, I'll be honest, is it causes people to say, what is 76 West? I thought that was an interstate in Pennsylvania. So, so we represent 11 counties. The other thing which is a bit confusing, The southern tier of New York State has some unique characteristics. First of all, a lot of really positive things. First of all, I want to mention the Southern Tier Startup Alliance, which really runs this competition, is a partnership between Cornell, Binghamton University, and Corning, Inc. And there's representatives from all those organizations here in the audience today. We try to cover 11 counties, though, that include 3 counties in the southwest part of the state that include Cattaraugus, Allegheny, and Chautauqua, to really bring a spotlight to part of the state which I think struggles a lot economically, yet has a lot going for it. If you've ever been to Sullivan Park, Corning's facility down in Corning, you'll know what I mean. These are some real gems in the region that we try to showcase. So how do you actually develop a region, especially 11 counties that go from Delaware County in the east, all the way out to the lake on the west? And so the way we do that is we try to get the word out about the competition and the money and what's going on in the ecosystem. We invite the teams to come to the region for a business development trip. They're assigned a mentor, and they're taken around the region to meet its many capabilities, and then they're invited to build their business there as makes sense for their business. And that's tricky. It's something between an accelerator and a competition, because some of the businesses are very early stage, and you can relate what they need might be different. Some of them are much further along. You're going to hear from Michael Oshetsky and Makatu. Where are you, Michael? He's going to be a speaker later on. They're doing phenomenal things in Corning, but they did not need an incubator. They had been through Nexus New York. They've been involved. They've been at Incubator Works in Corning, and so we had to modify our competition for a region, for the clean energy and energy efficiency vertical, and to allow a wide range of businesses to attract a wide range of businesses. The final thing I'll say is, how do you get the balance right between the desire to attract businesses from around the country or around the world against the desire to support the businesses that are there here in the region? And we've really tried to walk that line between them. It happens that, so just a few facts and figures, we've run 76 West twice now. We've awarded $5 million to 12 companies in the region. In year 2, which just wrapped up in August, we had 6 money winners, $1 million, $500,000, $4 $250,000 prizes, 3 of them from out of state, 3 of them from in-state. So getting that balance right is another one of the things I think we wrestle with. Last thing I'll say, honestly, is that I want to tip the hat to all the gentlemen on the stage here. We were born, 76 West was with 43 North in mind. John and his team were generous from the beginning, and I've spoken with each of these guys as they've come on and built their competitions, and so it really is great to be on the panel together, and thank you for doing this.
Excited to be here. So it's clear that there is a significant amount of money and a significant amount of thought that's gone into highlighting where it should go and focusing on really benefits of the region or the areas that are getting that. We talk about it needing to build a village to kind of grow startups and the entrepreneur being the center and the focus of it. In addition to cash, clearly there's a lot of other things one needs to add, and I think some of that is the Rolodex or connecting the dots for them. John, as someone who started and built a company and has experience of being on the other side of the fence, how do you find yourself and your team approaching that above and beyond winning the $1 million, the $500,000, the $250,000? And how has having the hat of being on that other side helped help you think about that differently?
Well, we don't even call it the incubator program anymore. We call it the networking program, because that's really, we incubate our companies for a year. But it's all a matter of what you do in the period of incubation. So the networking is really important. We were talking about this last week, that it's said that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to support a startup. So whether or not you're a mentor, an advisor, an investor, a customer, whether or not you work in workforce development and making sure, I see Viaduct was one of the supporting sponsors today, connecting resources and employees to our community of employers. so you can get engaged in a variety of different ways, but you also need people engaged in trying to connect those dots, or it doesn't work. We have a lot of great sponsors out here. We get a lot of people who are engaged, but it requires an entire community. Being on the other side as an entrepreneur, frankly, we didn't have those resources. We had to find those resources on our own. And now, Upstate and Buffalo, New York, I can speak mostly for Buffalo, New York, but so many more people and so many organizations are now being far more engaged than I think we've even seen in the last 5 years ago. To put it in perspective, in 2014, Buffalo did $6 million in venture capital. $6 million. To put that in perspective, the Bay Area did $17 billion. Boston did 4, New York did 3.5, and there was a whole litany of cities out there doing around $1 billion. Well, this year we're going to eclipse 200 million. So just in a short amount of time, we've seen the startup community in Western New York evolve where it's become a meaningful part of our business climate. But it's not just because of 43 North, it really is because the entire swath of community advocates and people that believe in the community are putting their time, their resources, and their talent at work to create the innovation economy of our future. So it isn't just about 43 North, it's about the work that all of us are doing collaboratively.
Yeah, and Jim, similar question. All of you are constantly moving around the state and really involved in the ecosystem with a program that has a real focus on an industry vertical. And as you mentioned, deep ties and connections in the region in that space clearly will be a great benefit to both companies within the region or outside the region that are coming. How are you guys focusing on bringing to bear all of those resources to, in addition to the cash, really help these companies grow, stick, and continue?
Yeah, I think John hit the nail on the head. The network and the community are the key aspects. So with that in mind, we designed a program. We have a national advisory board that we put in place. So really 12 luminaries in the industry that are in venture capital or built and sold their own companies, as well as the network of the optics and imaging cluster that we've got. Getting these customers to their getting these startups to their first customers or investors or partners, we think is as important or more important than the capital they get from the competition. So that's the focus, and that's what we've learned from talking to these guys as we set this thing up. So anything we can do, anything we can do to get them those connections and those networking resources is what we're going to be focused on during the period of our program.
Great. Rick, similarly, you clearly have, with Center State's involvement, a depth of an ability to kind of help in a lot of different ways for the companies that are coming to Genius. What are the benefits of that, and how, when you look to the community, are you looking to tap these companies in so, like Jim was saying, they can kind of grow above and beyond the cash that you're providing?
Yeah. So I do feel like I have a bit of an advantage. I mean, I can just imagine when you guys first started at 43 North, trying to do that broad-based program and try to find those resources just from,
it was challenging,
from everywhere. And here I am, I probably have it the easiest because we're a part of Center State, and Center State has a 2,000, membership base in mature companies. And then we went in the vertical, tagged on to the $250 million in the unmanned system space. So I feel like I have a bit of advantage because I can go to Center State and look for those resources, and they're already there. So I already know, where the Rolodex is, know how to get in touch with people. But then also we sort of have this natural progression from the Tech Garden to Center State. So we're at that, as I said before, that startup phase, and we're trying to graduate our members and push them out into the community, which basically is the Center State Economic Development and Chamber of Commerce organization. So that stickiness piece is very important to us. We want our members, our team members in the cohorts to stay here and to be involved in those more mature companies. And it's sort of natural for us to hook them up to Center State to sort of make that jump. So it's been working pretty well.
Brian, with clean energy being such a focus on the national stage, and with the program being so interesting and exciting, and the size and scope of it being what it is, how do you find it as you're kind of speaking out to regions above and beyond ours, and drawing companies in? Has it been something that's been very well received, especially considering, to your point, the depth of the Rolodex and the network and what you're providing to them?
The world's changed a lot in the last couple of years politically. Clean energy and its focus, it's been brought into real sharp focus, I think, with the change in the administration. One thing that's different about 76 West versus the other three programs is that it is a NYSERDA program, New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. It is their program. We administer that program for NYSERDA. NYSERDA brings to bear a whole lot of exciting prospects for startups and for other companies in the region, broad programming, and so we obviously make the most of that as we try to attract companies to the region. Also, New York State is a beacon, I guess, if you're in the clean energy world nationally. I was in Houston last week at Rice University down in Texas at their energy forum. Our second year $1 million winner is a Dallas-based company, Skyven Technologies, Arun Gupta, if you have met him before. And I could say to the teams there, look, New York State's doing a lot of great things, and you should really look at it carefully, and people are paying attention. And so, first of all, NYSERDA is awesome. Secondly, in the region, similar to some of the comments that were made, we have 6 business incubators. We have a lot going on, starting right at Cornell with entrepreneurship at Cornell and what's happening at Cornell, Ithaca College, TC3, our community college, and then in Binghamton University and all the way out to Fredonia at SUNY Fredonia. There's a lot to brag about and a lot of people to introduce them to. We now have, when our teams come to the region and we're helping them build their pitch for what they would do with their $1 million in the region, we have over 100 people who know about 76 West, who are business leaders up and down the region, who take calls, take meetings with those folks to help be their first customer, be their first partner, their supplier, and it's that kind of connectivity which I think we all try to build for our teams.
I know we only have a few more, we have a minute, so really quickly, I could not be more excited hearing about what everybody's doing, the collaboration, and how we as a region are really looking to build the future. There's a lot of people out here who do a lot of different things. Can you give me each, very quickly, how the folks in this room can help move the ball forward with your programs, so that we can be bringing to bear the most resources that we have in this room to help make all of this a success?
Yep. So a couple of things. One, our application window closes September 25th, so if you know companies that are interested, have them apply. And then 2, November 7th and 8th, we will have 20 semifinalists in Rochester, along with Paul Singh's North American Tech Tour, thanks to UVC. He'll be swinging through the Rochester and Finger Lakes area. So come out and see him and help open a door and make a connection.
Be reminded that it takes 20 years to build an ecosystem, so the biggest thing that we can do is stay focused, but also be patient. That the seeds that we're planting as a super region take time to bear fruit, and it will take time, but get engaged, right? Whether or not you're a customer, whether or not you're an advisor, whether or not you can connect the network, not only within Upstate, but remember, it's going to be collaboration across North America and beyond. Make those connections, but be open to connecting our startup community to those resources, whether they're in Upstate or not, to ensure that we're advancing the collective innovation economy accordingly.
I should do my advertisement also. So Genius New York applications close in 2 weeks, end of this month. But as far as the, what else, how the community can get involved, one, I want to leave you with one notion. So a lot of times when we connect advisors, mentors to our teams, a lot of time it's
Sorry, Rick.
I'm just going to leave it.
Technical difficulties. I dropped the mic too soon.
We always go to the top of the companies and say, you're the CEO or the president, or you built this company. Can you come help us? What I found to be very helpful in Genius New York is going down into the companies. So those of you who have companies, if you have a supply chain manager, if you have a manager of sales or something like those are the kind of people that really can roll up their sleeves and help. So we don't really always have to live at the top of the companies. But if we go down a little bit further, it not only does it help us, but it's professional development for your people too.
If you hear, just take the call, take the meeting with any of the startups that are involved in these competitions and attend the events. October 5th, 43 North, it's going to be awesome. I've been to Rick's events. I'm looking forward to Jim's. These are, and I know it's preaching to the choir. I think in the end, we're talking to friends here, people who want to do this. But be aware of it. Be facile in being able to introduce what these programs can do. And really thank you for listening and being here today. It's the key.
Great. Well, thanks again, all of you, for coming. I found it a real honor to be on the stage with you, and I think it's fantastic to hear what you guys are doing and how you're being a real value and intricate part of building the ecosystem. And again, thanks to UVC for putting together such a wonderful event. So hope everyone found this informative, and I couldn't echo more. Get involved, stay involved, and these are great folks to be asking questions as to how we can help build the ecosystem. So thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Mario.
Thanks, Mario.